go. Okay. Welcome to appFiles 101. If you and I have never met in person, my name is Selena Keever. I am the office manager for the Brownston location and also the training lead. So I'm in charge of training staff and training agents on our systems. I was a teacher for 11 years. I taught fourth and fifth grade. So this is kind of, my passion, just doing it with adults instead of kids. If you ever have any questions about appFiles, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. You can email me, you can call me, you can text me. The number that's on my email is my direct line. I'm going to go ahead and make sure everybody's muted here. So I got a few more people joining, which is fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning. So some of you may see some things that you already know or already have seen before. If you guys are my fifth graders, I would have given you a pre-test and I would have divided y'all up by skill level, but obviously we don't have the ability to do that. So if I'm going over things that you've already seen before, just bear with me. I'm just trying to make sure that we have everybody on the same page and knowing what they need to do in order to use appFiles. So couple of things before we get started, just a few little office reminders. I've got my little notes here. So just wanted to remind you guys that if you have commissions for closings that are being wired to the office, if you could please just make sure that you let Natalie or Virginia know that those are being wired, because when those come in through our bank, we don't see what property they're attached to or what agent they're attached to. So we generally would just see where they're coming from. So whatever closing attorney or wherever that's coming from. So we did actually recently have a wire that sat there for a week before we figured out who it belonged to. So just make sure that if you have something like that coming in, that you just let us know so we can be on the lookout for it. And then also as a reminder, there is a $15 fee for incoming wires. The second reminder would be, please make sure you're not using the ACH system for earnest money for commissions. That money goes into, there we go, thank you. That money goes into the holding trust account, so we don't need to be using that for commissions. So if you need to have a commission sent another way besides wire or check, again, please just get with Faye, or you can get with Faye or you can get with Virginia or Natalie, and they can help you work that out. Haley also asked me to remind you that for those of you that already use appFiles, and then those of you that will be beginning to use appFiles, we have a sales agreement input form in the appFile where you can indicate if you want us to change the status of your listing to active under contract or pending or not. We just ask that we have some agents that are waiting to turn in contracts until due diligence is up because they don't want us to change the status. You don't have to do that. We're not going to change the status unless you want us to. And we do like for contracts to be turned in as soon as possible. Most of you probably know we have 30 days to review contracts. But also for us, like, we like to be proactive and get things processed as quickly as possible. So that way, when you turn in your closing, we can get you your money quickly. So just in the appFiles, I'll show you guys where that is, but there is an input form and you can just let us know, please don't change the status until after due diligence. And we're happy to do that for you. Okay, the next two things we'll actually get to as we're doing appFiles. So I always like to start on our center members page. If you have not visited this page, I highly recommend it. It's just centermember.com. This is our agent-facing website. There's lots of great stuff on here for you. Forms, marketing. If you need some marketing done for you, the office can help you with that. Paying earnest money is also on here. So let me just really quickly show you that tab. Okay. So here is where you can actually have your clients go and pay earnest money. So this is the ACH system that we use. Couple of caveats. Maximum amount is $30,000. So if they're paying more than that, we typically say you can do it a couple of different ways. They can either break it up into 2 different payments, or they can do the wire instead if that is preferred. Just remember that they cannot use a savings account. It does have to be a checking account. And just make sure that they are putting in their routing number and their checking account number correctly. Okay. Back to the home page here. Okay, so here's where you can get access to your appFiles, although I highly recommend that you bookmark the page for easy access. But when you're on the home page here, you can just click on this little link. It'll take you to the login page. Now, I've already logged in this morning, so it took me directly to the to my page. So let me just sign out. Okay, so when you click that little link, this is what it's going to look like. You'll just put in your email address and your password. For those of you that are new to appFiles, I did go through this morning, and if I could see that you had not signed in and changed your password, I went ahead and resent you that link. You do have only 48 hours to change that, so if you haven't already done it, now would be a great time to do that. If you have the capability of logging into appFiles now and following along, that would also be fantastic, because I'm going to walk you through how you can actually create appFiles, and yeah, so if you have the function to be able to listen and do appFiles at the same time, that would be great. And just in case you just joined us, I am going to be recording this, so we will post this in case you need to go back and rewatch anything. Okay. All right, so logging in. Okay, let me just collapse this so you don't have to see all of that. Okay, so my page is going to look a little bit different than yours because I have access to everybody's appFiles. But when you log in, what you're going to see here in the center is any activity related to your files in appFiles. Now, if you are not aware, the staff has already started creating appFiles for anything that you have in .loop. So you may start to see notifications come through because we are processing things in appFiles as well. Now, on that note, we have appFiles until August, okay? So don't start panicking and thinking that you're going to lose access to things. You're not, okay? As Tina stated in her email, if you still want to use .loop for file storage, signatures, things like that, you can. It's just going to be that fee of, I believe it's around $35 a month. But once our subscription ends, we are going to be processing everything through appFiles. I will tell you, my experience in being in both systems now, because we had to learn .loop once Metro came on, appFiles may not look as pretty as .loop, but I think the functionality is much better. Pardon my little pop-up messages here. So I just feel like there's a lot more that you can do with appFiles that you can't do in .loop. There is a learning curve. You know, if you've been using .loop for a really, really, really long time, it's going to take you a hot minute to get used to using appFiles, but I promise you it's worth it. There's a lot of things that you can do in appFiles that you can't do in .loop. Okay. And just so you know, I will leave time for questions at the end. All right, so first things first, like I said, we are creating a lot of files for you for things that you already have in .loop. But if you want to jump right in and go ahead and start creating your own files for things, that is highly encouraged. I'm going to show you guys the best, easiest way to create your files is to do what I call a template appFile. And what that is you create the file. Let's say it's for a seller, for a listing. You create the file, you add all of your most commonly used documents for a listing. And then every time you have a new listing client, all you have to do is copy that appFile. So that way you're not starting from scratch every single time, okay? The other thing that I want to mention to you all is in your appFiles account, if you don't have your, like if we didn't have your NERDS number, please make sure that you get that to us or reach out to us, because that is what allows you to be able to put your GAR documents in, your GAR forms, okay? So, or there is a place for you guys to add it yourself when you log into your account, but if you need help and you're not really sure where to go to add it, just reach out to the office staff. We can help you with that, okay? So I will show you guys. I'm not an agent, so I don't have a NERDS number. But when you're on your home screen, if you go to your settings down here where it says Georgia Forms Authorization, if you click on that, here's where you enter it. Okay. And then you would just click on authorize. And as long as you're paid up on your board dues, you don't have any other outstanding issues, it'll authorize you automatically. And then now you're good to add your GAR forms until next year. You do have to reauthorize every year. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to log into your account and you're going to come right here to where it says form values. Okay. You're going to click on that. The first thing that's going to pop up is one of our in-house forms. But if you do a quick search, so let's do listing agreement because that one is something that's used most often. All right. So when you open your brokerage engagement agreement and you go to this last page, this is where you fill out all of your information. So your name, your email address, all that kind of stuff. Do yourself a huge favor and save yourself some time. I always tell people, get your favorite beverage, be it a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, whatever that looks like, and fill this out for any of your most commonly used forms. So whether it's a listing agreement, a buyer brokerage agreement, anything that you use most often, fill this out, okay? And the reason why I'm saying that you do that is because once you do it, every time you add this form into your app file, it's going to have this already filled in for you. So it takes a little bit of work on the front end to do it, but it's going to save you time in the long run. Okay. Now, the thing that is very weird that throws people for a loop is once you fill this out, there's no button for you to hit save. All you have to do is hit close. But I promise you that if you fill this in and hit close, it's going to save your information. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill in, so you guys will see this later. I'm just going to put Remax. I'm not going to fill everything in. We'll just say 770-932-1234 is the main office number, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit close. And then later when I add this to a file, you guys are going to see that it does in fact actually save the information and add it to your file. Okay. Now, creating a new app file is super duper easy. So all you have to do, and this is the thing I love about app files, there's a couple of different ways to do everything in here. So whatever way feels most organic to you, that's what you can do. You can come up here, you can click on new app file, you can go over here, you can click on new app file. It doesn't matter, functions the same way. So I'm just going to click here. Okay, so this is creating our, let's start with sellers. This is going to be our listing template app file. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to name this with my name. So you can do the same with yours if you're following along. And I'm going to say seller template, and then I'm going to label the year because next year I may want to do it differently. All right, your file type is going to be sellers, and we will look at the different file types when we talk about how files actually move through the office. I'm just going to click on sellers. All right, agent name is going to be my name. Okay. This is a template file, so we don't want to fill in anything here. We want to leave this blank because we're going to use this to copy for later on. So then I'm going to click on next. Okay, now if you are logged into your account, it is going to automatically have you listed over here. But because I'm logged into my account, it's asking me if I have people that I want to add. So obviously, like, here is where I can go and I can add any of you guys to a file if I need to. Okay, now just remember, much like dotloop, the only people that have access to your files are you and anybody else that you have allowed to have access. So like if you're on a team and you have a transaction coordinator, if you've added your transaction coordinator, then it'll just be you, the staff, and your transaction coordinator. Or if you have like your team leader is on all of your files, then it'll be you, your team leader, your transaction coordinator, and staff, okay? Staff is automatically added, and you guys can't actually remove us from any files. So just keep that in mind. All right, and then all I'm going to do is click on create app file. Super easy, right? Like, couldn't even be easier. Now what I want to do is I want to add my most commonly used forms. Okay, so since this is a seller template file, I want to add any listing documents that I'm going to need. So I'm going to come right here to where it says add forms. Okay, now we do have a couple of packages already created with like some basic forms in them. So like right here, you can see the listing package. So it's got, you know, your ABCs of agency, your consumer brochures, your listing agreement, your property disclosure, and your community association disclosure. So those are the things that people use most often. So I'm going to start by adding those. But then I'm going to show you about a couple of other things. Because I know specifically like our Atlanta folks, a lot of times you guys need like lead-based paint because a lot of your properties are pre-78. And then that DeKalb water, whatever that's about, I don't really know, but I know you guys use it a lot. So I'll show you how to add those as well. Okay. Now, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit select all. Okay. And then over here, you're going to see you have two options. You can add them as a single merged form, or you can add them as separate individual forms, okay? I'm going to add them as separate individual forms, but here's the great thing about appFiles. You can add them as separate, and you can put them all together. You can add them as a single merge form, and you can break them all apart. You can mix and match forms like however you want to do it. You can change the order of pages, like whatever you want to do, you can do that. So I will be fully honest and say there have been times when I've been creating files and I've forgotten to check the separate forms and I've added as a merge form and I don't realize it until I click down here and I'm like, didn't mean to add those as one big long form. Not a big deal. You can always go in and separate everything out, okay? The other thing that you have here is to choose sections. So you can choose different sections that you want to have these added to. Again, keeping in mind, this is something that can always be changed after you add things in there. There is nothing that is permanent about appFiles. And this is probably a good time to mention, if you ever accidentally delete something, so let's say that you started filling out a buyer brokerage agreement and you had all of their information. You didn't have them sign anything yet, but you had it all filled out and you were, you know, working in a couple different files and you thought you were going to delete something and you accidentally delete it and you realize you go, oh my gosh, I needed that. All you have to do is contact appFiles and they can restore it for you. Okay. Unfortunately, we as office staff don't have the ability to do that. But if you just click on that appFile support button, the people there are fantastic. They've gotten to know me over there over the years. I've called them many, many times. If by chance I don't get an answer, you know, I get the voicemail or whatever, I've always gotten a call within the hour. So they are really, really, their customer service is just not to be beaten, honestly. So, okay. So just never fear. If you accidentally delete something, not a big deal. All right. So since this is a listing, I'm going to add this under listing documents. And then I'm just going to click on add selected forms. Okay. Now, again, I am not an agent. So you guys will not have to do this part. I do just because I'm not an agent. So I'm going to click on proceed. Okay. So the first thing that pops up is our listing agreement. So let's go to that last page. Okay. And look right here, you guys can see the information that I entered on that form values is right here. So this is why I say do your form values and then create yourself a template file to use. Because now every time you have a listing, all you have to do is copy this file. And then all of this will be filled out and you can just add, you know, client information, addresses, all of that kind of stuff. There are easy ways to do all of that that we may or may not get to today. But if we don't get to it today and you want to play around, look at this import values button. This is invaluable because you can import values from a number of different places. Okay. All right. So I'm going to click on close here. Okay. And then, like I said, these forms can be moved around to different sections. You can create your own section if you want to call it something different. Typically, our property disclosures, we upload those to the MLS, so we do generally put those here. But if you want to organize yours in a different way, like that's totally up to you. Okay. All right. The other important thing that I want to point out that a lot of people, even our people who have used the system for a long time, miss is this file information sheet over here. And the nice thing is that appFiles just recently created an update so that whenever you do like a seller file or a buyer file, it automatically adds this template for you. So if you're somebody who's been with Center for a while, and you don't have this in your template appFile, I would just recommend that you go and add it. All you have to do is click on Add Section, okay? And then you have all these different templates to choose from, but here is your seller, here's your landlord, buyer, tenant, okay? These are template, what am I trying to say? File information templates that appFiles has added. And what this is useful for is when you fill this out, you can import these values over to documents. It makes it easier for you to email things to your client. If you fill in the closing attorney information, it's easier for you to email information to closing attorneys. Like, it's another one of those things that just saves you time, okay? So when you come over here, you can fill in as much or as little information as you want. Seller name, mailing address, home phone number, whatever you want to fill in. But I highly, highly, highly recommend that you use this. And here's why, okay? So I'm just going to fill in, oops, typo. I'm just going to use the office address here. Office phone number. Okay, we'll do email. Pardon my typing. Okay, all right. And then let's see, let's do a property address as well. Goodness gracious, Tuscany. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. Now, I have this over here. Okay. So if I go over here to my listing agreement and I click on this import values, right here in the middle where it says to import from info fields, if you click on that, give it just a second, it's going to ask you where you want to import it from. So this is what I was talking about. You can import it from different places. For this example, I'm going to import it from the template. I'm going to click choose. Okay, and then it'll show you everything that it's going to import. So that's why I said the more information that you can put on the side over there, you can then import into various forms, like whatever forms you want to import those into. Click finish. And then now you can see my screen just a little bit bigger. There we go. All right, so now you can see that it's imported that information onto the document. Okay. All right, I'm going to pause here for a moment and see if we have any burning questions from folks. Anything that we want to ask or
I
get
have a
back?
question. This is
Absolutely.
Chad.
Yeah.
So if you pull up a listing agreement and you're typing up a listing and
Mm-hmm.
you type into those fields that are blank,
Mm-hmm.
will it remember what you typed on that document and then add it, can you import it into all the other documents that you associate with that?
That's a great
That
question. So you can import from form to form, but the caveat is that the fields have to match exactly. So in other words, like you can't put a land lot number, I'm just going to use this as an example, and have that import into, say, like a unit number. I know you wouldn't want to do that, but just for the purposes of an example, have that import as like a unit number on a different form. So they have to be like apples to apples, basically.
And it doesn't automatically do it. You have to import from
Correct. You do
form to
have to click
form.
on that. Right, right. I will tell you that if this is for a listing, um, and it's something that has been previously listed, you can actually come up here to import values and import from the MLS. So if you have
Okay.
a previous listing number, you can put that in and it will import those values. Again, it still has to be like apples to apples, right? So that's a great
Okay.
question, Chad. Thank you.
Mm.
Anybody else have any other burning questions at the moment? All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to copy this so that you can use this template each time you have a listing. But in doing that, we're going to create a buyer file. Okay. So once again, it's super easy. There's usually a couple of different ways that you can copy an app file. I'm going to come right over here. I'm going to click on copy this app file. Okay. Now, I just want to remind everybody that what we're doing today is the very, very basic bare minimum of what appFiles can do. So I very much encourage you to get in there, create files for yourself, create these template files, or if you just want to practice, create yourself a test file. Please, please, please do so. And we are going to be having these once a month up until August. So I'm going to try to cover different things each time. And again, I'm available if you want me to meet with your team. If you want to meet individually, just let me know. We can meet in person. We can meet over Zoom. I will tell you if it's in person, you guys do have to come to me here in Brazelton. But it's whatever you'd like to do. So just keep those things in mind. All right. So copying this app file. All right. I'm going to change this to buyer. Okay. I'm going to change this file type to buyer. Okay. Again, I'm going to leave all of this information blank because this is my template, so it will change for each customer. I'm going to click on next step. Okay. Just as a reminder, you do not have to add yourself to your own files. You'll already be in your own account. All right. Click on next step. Okay. Now, if I were copying this for a seller, I would want to keep all of this information because remember, your template file is going to be basically blank with just those form values that you want to carry over. So just your information, the brokerage information that you want to carry over, okay? But since I'm using this to show you how to create a buyer file, I don't want any of this stuff in here. So I'm just going to click on unselect, 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 and then I'm going to click on create. I also have written directions for this too. If you're somebody that likes to have written directions, just reach out to me and I can email those to you. Okay, so our copy is complete. Now we're going to click here to open it. Okay, so now I have a buyer file that is ready for my buyer forms. Okay, and I'm going to notice here that this did not add the master buyer template. So we'll do that in just a few minutes. Okay, once again, I'm just realizing I said I was going to go back and add the lead-based paint in the decab. So if you guys will bear with me for one moment, I do apologize. I'm going to back up and go to my seller template here. Good time to point out, every time you open a new app file, you can see it does open a new tab. So if you're a person who does not like a lot of tabs open, just keep that in mind. So back in my seller template, I told you guys I was going to show you how to add the lead-based paint and that decab water form, whatever that is. So I'm going to come over here and click on add forms. And then I'm just going to start typing in. If you have the numbers memorized, some people do, I do not. You can do it by the number as well. So I'm just going to click on add. I'm going to put this under, again, you can put it under whatever section you like. And then you just click on add selected forms. And then there's your lead-based paint. And then the other form is that decab water or plumbing, whatever that is. You guys know what that is. I don't. Okay. All right, and then there's the plumbing disclosure. So for Atlanta folks, I would just highly recommend whenever you create your template to just go ahead and add those because you guys do use those a lot. So, and after this, if you need me to help you create some, I can meet with you and help you create template app files if you're struggling. Okay, I am done with this file for now, so I'm going to exit out of it. I'm going to go back to my buyer file. So again, we do have packages that are already have the most commonly used forms for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those. I'm going to add them as separate forms. Okay. Let's see. This one has a lot of different files in it. So I'm going to add it under general paperwork and then show you how to move them to different places. All right, so let's just add these. Okay. All right, so you got a lot of different forms here. Let's see. Buyers and sellers. That's interesting. The one thing I do not see is the buyer brokerage agreement. So we need to fix that. Let's go ahead and add that. Go one, two. We do actually have a section for that, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in that section. Okay. So now you have your GAR brochures, you have your purchase and sale agreement, again, property disclosure, community association, although I'm not really sure why you would need those in a buyer file, but they're there. Then you also have this seller financing first mortgage exhibit as well. Something else that might be useful for you all to add, find it here. Let's see. Wish I could remember the numbers sometimes for these. Here we go. Estimate cost to buyer. This is something that a lot of agents find useful. Do yourself a favor and click on this one, that's estimate cost to buyer calculating, because what that's going to do is that is going to do all of the math for you. So if you start putting in numbers here, so let's say the down payment was $50,000, closing costs were $10,000. I'm not going to do all of this, but let's say the homeowner's insurance was $1,500. So now you can see it starts calculating everything down here. So if you're like me, math is not something I really like to do. So, I mean, I did teach it, so I'm decent at it, but I don't really like to do it. So just do yourself a favor and use the calculating form, make your life simpler. Okay. So again, anything that you most commonly use, and if there's something that you don't want to use or you don't want to have in your template file, it's super easy to delete those. All you have to do is come up here to actions and click on delete. And then it's going to ask you if you're sure, and you're going to say yes. So, like I said, we tried to do a package that's just kind of like general forms that people might use for on the buying or selling side. But there may be other things that you have. And if you have your own forms that you use, like we have some of our teams use their own team forms, just get with me and I can talk to you about how we can get those added and made fillable for you. And just know that if it's your team in-house form, only your team would have access to it and the staff too, but all of the other agents would not have access. So, okay, because this did not create the file information section, let me show you guys how to do that. So all you're gonna do is click on add section. All right, and the thing that you're looking for here is this master buyer template, okay? Because basically what appFiles has done is they've created these templates that when you add this, it's going to give you that apples to apples, like what Chad was asking about earlier. It's going to give you the ability to copy that information from the side of the file into, say, like the buyer brokerage agreement, okay, or purchase and sale. I'm going to click on create info section, and then there you have all of your information there that you can fill out, okay. All right, I'm going to stop one more time if we have any burning questions about buyers files.
So there's no archive function in this application, correct? Like in .loop, if there's no way to delete anything, you just archive it, which means we can unarchive it if we want to go back to it.
Correct. There is no archive function. Now, if you have a file that you absolutely are not going to use anymore, like, and I'm talking about like, let's say you created a buyer file and then those buyers changed their mind and then you're not working with them anymore. They decide to go to a different agent, whatever. You can ask us to delete the file and then we'll move it to trash. But there is not an archive function. That's a great question. I will also tell you guys, once you get started creating files, let me go back to my home page here. When you start creating files and you're on your home page, if you see right here where it says My App Files and it says 14,928, your number won't be that high. But this is basically all the files that you have access to, so all of your own files. Okay. Again, I have access to everybody's files, so that's why it's so many. As you start adding files, you're going to see this number go up. And when you're looking for one of your files, you may not want to look through this whole big long list, or you may not want to click on search and type in whatever your address is every single time. So what I like to do with any files that I'm currently working in, over here on this left-hand side, here where it says assign to me, I assign the file to myself. And then that way I just have easy access to it. You guys can see here is all of the files that I'm currently working in. Okay. And then once you're done, like once it closes, you can unassign yourself from the file. That doesn't mean that you won't still have access. And I'll show you guys what I mean. It doesn't mean that you won't have access to it anymore. It just means that it won't show up on that left-hand side of your screen. So if I'm here in my test file and I just click on this little X, I click on OK, I can still go back to my home page. And if I do 2026 test file, okay, so it's still right here. I can still jump into it. All that does is it just removes it from that assigned to me. So I always tell agents, any active files that you have, assign them to yourself. You can assign it to more than one person. So like if you have a transaction coordinator, you can assign it to yourself. You can assign it to your transaction coordinator. Just don't assign it to any staff members because we already all have access to all the files. So that would be an unnecessary step. I'm just going to go back and reassign this to myself. And then now it'll show back up on that left-hand side. So it went from 5. And if I refresh my screen, then you can see now it goes back to 6. Okay, so that's just a little trick there to give you easy access to your files. That's a great question, Chad. Thank you.
Can you sort those by file status, like under contract or closed?
So yes, you can sort it in a multitude of different ways. So you can sort it by file type. Right here, you can sort it by date if you want to. So however you want to do it. Yeah, it's a great question. Chad is full of great questions. Thank you, Chad. All right. So now what I'd like to do, so we've created our template app files. So I want to take a moment here and I'm going to show you guys how the files move through the office. So when we process your files, okay? And in doing that, I'm also going to show you the best way to communicate with the office, okay? All right, so let me just click on this. Okay, so let's say, for example, you have a buyer and you've put an offer on a property and that offer has been accepted and now you're under contract and you're ready for the office to process that contract. All you have to do is come up here. I don't know why they have 3 buttons here, but they all do the same thing. So you can click on any one of them. Right here in this drop-down menu, you're going to click on File Type and you're going to scroll down. Now, you guys won't see as much of this as what I see here because a lot of this is kind of our back office, back end stuff that you guys don't see. But you should see Sales Agreement. So you just click on that. And then you click on Save Changes. Okay. You do not have to do a notification to the office to say that this is under contract, because what that does over here on my home screen, if you see here, here's our broker inbox, which you guys should be able to see as well. Again, you may not see all the different types because some of that's our back office stuff. Okay. But now you can see that there is a number 1 next to the sales agreement. So now Haley, who assigns out all of our work, when she sees that, she's going to go and click on it and she's going to go, okay, there's a new sales agreement that needs to be processed. She's going to go through the file. If she has any questions for you, she'll reach out and ask you any questions. And then she'll assign it out for one of the office ladies to process. Okay. So notes on appFiles when you turn them into the office. So a couple of different things. One, you can put notes to the staff here in the top of the appFile. We just ask that if you do, appFiles does not date it. Like I know you guys are used to dot loop, like it would show you, oh, we said this on Tuesday, April 14th. In this particular section, it does do it further down in the file, but in this particular section, it doesn't. So if you put something up here, just try to remember to put a date next to it. So if we're looking in the file, we don't question like, is this something old? Is this something new? So like, for example, I might put, please leave in active status. And then click on save. Okay. I usually discourage agents from doing notes to office staff here. And here's why. When you put notes here, it does not alert us to anything. So if you have something that you need the office to be aware of, we're going to use this create alert function. I'll show you in just one moment. I recommend that you use this section for notes to yourself. So if there's anything that you need to note about the file, you can notate it here. I would still recommend putting a date just so you can remember like, oh, what day did I, like maybe you said on 4/14, you reminded the client like when due diligence was up or something like that. So you can use it for that. The best way for you to notify the office about anything is to click on this button that says to create an alert. You're going to type your note here. So I'll just use the same thing that I already used. Status. Thanks. Now you have the ability to send that note to just one of us, but we all kind of are in on the processing. Typically Haley, like I said, she assigns out the work. So she assigns it to the first available person. So the quickest, easiest way for you to get attention to your file is to click on this contact staff button. Because what that does is it sends a message to all of us. And then that way everybody's in the know. And then Haley can make sure that whoever is the first available person can process whatever needs to be processed in your file. Okay. So just click on that contact staff button and then you click on create alert. Okay. And then now what that's done is that's sent an email to our staff inbox and everybody is in the know that you want to leave this in active status. Okay. So now your question might be, I have this offer. I need the office to process it. Besides switching it to sales agreements, what do I need to do? Well, there's 2 different ways that you can go about this, okay? You can either fill in the information here at the top of the appFile. So any MLS numbers you have, price, closing date, due diligence, yada, yada. Or we also have what we call a sales agreement input form, okay? Typically what I tell people is if you just need us to process your contract and send you your preliminary commission statement, just fill out the top of the appFile. That's the quickest, easiest way to do it. But if you have extra things involved with your file, if you have a referral to another agent, if you want us to do under contract postcards for you, any extra services that you want the office to do, it's better if you fill out a sales agreement input form because it's going to have a spot for you to do all of that. Okay. So if you just start typing in, say, okay. Now we have 2 different ones. We have the individual and then we have the team. So if you're on a team, even if you are the person getting all of the commission, because sometimes we have teams where one team member is getting all of the commission, but maybe they're splitting the FMLS fee. You still need to use the team sales input form because that's where you're going to be able to notate, like let's say Selena's getting all the commission, but Selena and Haley are splitting the FMLS fees 50-50. Okay. But if you're an individual, you're just going to add this form. Okay. We do generally put this under the office to process section, but if you forget, it's not a big deal. We'll move it for you. Add selected form. And here's what it looks like. So you can fill in the price, how much commission you are getting, the earnest money, who's holding the earnest money. And then right here is where you can indicate if you want us to put it in pending, if you want us to put it in active and under contract, or if you don't want us to change the status at all. And if you don't want us to change the status at all, that's fine. I will say that's becoming, it seems like increasingly common in this kind of weird market that we're in. So we are more than happy to do whatever you would like for us to do. Now, keep in mind, this is a buyer file. So with buyers, we're not changing the status. That's done on the listing agent side. But if you were on the listing side, just notate it here whether or not you want us to change the status. And we're happy to do that. Okay. Pay at close. If you want to pay at close, you can just say yes. Just please make sure you give us the attorney's email because we do have a form that we send over to them a week ahead of time. You can also order home warranties here from our preferred vendor, which is America's Preferred Home Warranty. And then if you have referrals, if you're paying another agent part of your commission, just enter that information here and just please, please, please make sure that you attach that W-9 so we can't pay the referral until we have the W-9. Okay. Couple of other things that we have available to you, Client for Life. If you're not aware of that program, it's $100 for buyers, $50 for sellers. Basically what that is we send a card every year on your client's anniversary in your name to their home, just saying happy anniversary. And it's branded to you with your information on there, so they feel remembered. The reason why it's $100 for buyers is because on their 3-month anniversary of being in their home, we send them a $25 Home Depot gift card. Okay. And then there's also, you can send a donation in their name to the Children's Miracle Network. All of this information is available on the center member page. But if you have questions about that, just feel free to reach out to me. So if you don't want any of this extra stuff, just fill out the top of the app file. If you have some of these extra items, then I would highly recommend that you fill out the form. All right, questions on any of that so far? Feel pretty good so far, I hope. I know this is a lot, so this is why we record.
Can you real quickly show what you
Sure.
would do if you have a client that is not computer savvy? You have to print the forms, take them to them, they fill them out, then you come back and upload them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because we haven't even gotten to the signature request portion yet. I do want to get to that before we disperse. So if you have somebody, and you will have those people that they either aren't computer savvy, or I have had people who say that my person doesn't even own a computer. So what you would want to do then, let's say it's a buyer, okay? Just come over here to this print button and click on print. It's going to open it up. You would just print it on your printer. And then once everything is filled and signed, you can either take it to the office if you want and scan it in, or you can scan it to your own computer. Here's an address where you can email it in. I believe Dotloop had that function as well. So you can either, like our office copiers have the ability for you to scan it directly to the file. You just put in the app file address. There's really a multitude of different ways that you can do it. If you're doing it from your own computer, though, let's say you wanted to scan it to yourself, you saved it as a PDF, and now you're ready to upload it to the file. So I'm just going to open this back up as an example. Okay. All right. So let's just say that you're going to upload the file directly from your computer. Go away, little menu. Sorry, this is my little menu is in my way. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so let me just do this. Back to my file here. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to upload files. You can leave it in uploaded paperwork, but since I know it's a buyer brokerage agreement, I'm going to put it there. I'm going to click on browse. And then mine is in my downloads folder. So you would go to wherever you have it saved on your computer, click on it, click open, and then start upload. Okay. And then now you can see there are two. The other thing that you can do is you can email it into, so like, let's say that they signed it, scanned it to you, and you had it in your email and you wanted to email it into the file. All you have to do is click on copy. So you would just, let me bring over okay. So here I have an email. I'm going to click on copy. You would just paste it here, attach your document, and then you can email it in. So here's my document. And anyway, okay. It may take a moment for it to populate in through email, but it will populate in. And while we're on that subject, you can change the name of the email address for your file. This part won't change, the remax.appfiles.com, but a lot of agents like to go ahead and change it. You can change it to the client name. You can change it to the like property address names. Like if it was a buyer, I could just say Kiever. Click on save changes. And sometimes that's easier for people to remember. So it's still up to you. And now here you can see the buyer brokerage is an emailed paperwork. So once again, with appFiles, there's always more than one way that you can add something into the file. So that was another great question. Do we have any other questions? All right, let me show you a seller. Okay, so that was a buyer. Obviously, buyer is pretty simple. You get the offer, you're ready for the office to process it. You change it over to sales agreements, it gets processed, and we send you a commission statement. But you might be asking yourself, what happens when I have a listing? Pardon me here. Oh, I love seeing that you guys have created some template appFiles over here. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. Okay, so let me just do Kiever. All right, here we go. Okay, so some agents like to put in their own listings, which is perfectly fine. Just be aware that the office is happy to do that for you as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, just reach out to us and we can talk to you about that. But if you are somebody that puts in your own listing, once it's active, if you could just put in your FMLS and your Georgia MLS numbers here. I'm just going to put one in as an example. Click on save. All right. So a lot of people think that, oh, let me put this in listing, which you can do that. And I may have to have you guys tell me. I'm not sure if you guys have access to it. But since it's already an active listing, really where it needs to go is right here. If anybody has theirs open and can let me know whether or not you see this active listing, that would be great. Can anybody see that? Nobody? All right. I'm not totally sure that you guys have access to move it directly to active. But if you have put it in yourself, you can move it to listing. And then Haley will just go through and make sure everything is in the file. And then the staff could just move it to active listing. But let's say that you put in a listing in FMLS and you're really short on time and you need the office to ditto it for you. We're happy to do that as well. All you have to do, once again, change the file to listing, create an alert, and just say, please ditto, oops, to, my goodness, I can't type today, Georgia MLS. Okay, and once again, if you would just click on that contact staff, And then Haley can assign that out for somebody to ditto for you. Okay, so we're happy to do that for you as well. If it's a coming soon, so you guys can kind of see, we have a few, actually, let me show it to you from the broker inbox here. So we have a few different little types here. We've got listing changes, sales agreement changes. And then we have different file types too for if it's an active or if it's a coming soon. So if you have a listing listed as a coming soon, we'll move it here until it actually goes into that active status. Okay. Questions about that?
I have a
Okay.
question.
Yes, Chad.
So you're bouncing around a lot and I can't keep up because I've never looked at this before really.
Sure.
But um, it seems to me like I need to get on a class that's really narrowly focused on a few basic functions.
Sure.
So I sent you a separate text, but I really just need to be able to create templates
Mm-hmm.
that I can import when I'm setting up a file for a property or contract. And then I need to be able to sort all of my app files so that I can find things. And I need to be able to figure out how to import documents
Mm-hmm.
into the different app files. And then, you know, I just really need it to be boiled down. I mean, I know that there's just a lot of functionality here. It seems like
Yeah.
there are a lot of different ways to get to the same place.
Right.
And I think that's part of what is super confusing about this application for me is that, there's 8 different ways to move data around and there's 18 or 30 different categories that you can, and I mean, let's be honest, 95% of us are not going to use 95% of this application. We're all going to use about 5% of this application, I'm guessing. And so that's the 5% that I really want to focus on so that I can start to build my knowledge over time, but having the foundational understanding of, hey, I need to write an offer like now.
Mm-hmm.
I have a highest and best. It's, due by 5. I've got to upload a proof of funds. I've got to, upload a survey. I've got to be able to categorize it. I've got to be able to, put everything in there, send it to my client, get it signed, download it as a PDF, and send it
Mm-hmm.
over to the other side. And so that to me, the thing that overwhelms me is when I'm on this class, I haven't really learned how to do any of that yet. And it's been an hour. And so I feel overwhelmed by that. So I have to run because I can't, I want to stay on, but I just wanted to give you that feedback.
Absolutely, Chad. I so appreciate that. And that's a little bit of what's hard about what I do is we have agents who are in multiple different places. So I try to just give an overview so that everybody could get something out of it. But I am more than happy to set up a time with you. You and I can meet and I can kind of boil things down for you and show you those basics.
Yeah, we
Can
could
I
call it appFiles basic bitch or something like that because that's what I need,
I
you
love
know?
it. I love
can
it.
I chime in real quick on
Absolutely,
what Chad
please.
said? So I was just thinking before Chad started to speak, is there like a cheat sheet that just has a very, kind of narrowed down list of the things that we agents most typically are going to need to use that can get us, up and running on this quickly?
And I think
Absolutely.
and
So,
I think that she might not even know what those things are because those things that we need are defined by dot loop for those of us who are trying to learn this system. And
right.
so what we need, Selena, is we need to educate you on how we use dot loop so that you can show us how to do those same things, but
Sure.
better in app files. So,
Sure.
maybe that's the first step in a basic bitch class is okay, let me show you how I draft an offer. Let me show you my templates. And
Hmm.
then we don't have to learn all this extra stuff yet. We can just learn exactly what it is that Chris and Jim and everybody who's coming over from Remax Metro really, really needs.
So I love this feedback and it's so super helpful because for me, I'm like, let me just show you the basics of how this works. And so you can kind of have a basic understanding of it. But that is helpful for you to say, I need for you to show me how to draft an offer. I need you to show me how to add my listing agreement and get it out for signature. Like that is the information that I need from you all. And I think maybe in reflecting on it, we maybe should have started with that instead of me jumping right in and saying, here, let me show you all this stuff. Because I could definitely see where that might be overwhelming. And especially for, if you've never even looked at the system before. So just remember, we are going to do this every month. Or if you are a person who you need a smaller group or just me one-on-one, like let's do that. And I'm happy to do that for you. Like
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah, because this every month is not going to help me. It's
Right.
just I don't need to see the back office stuff yet. I don't need to see all the import options. I just need to be able to see the most basic. How quickly can I set things up to mirror what I currently have on a very simplistic
Sure.
loop, which works for me? And so we can talk offline about that, and then maybe we can have a separate class for the newbies.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I love that.
All
What
right.
else do we
Thank
have?
you.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great day. Anybody got anything
Yeah,
else?
I agree with all of those comments, Selena.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the simpler, the better. Sort of like when you get a new iPhone, you don't need to know everything all at once. You take the basics and then you move from there to explore yourself. So
Right.
I think that I think they all have some valid comments there. And
Absolutely.
yeah, all right. Thanks, guys, for those comments.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Selena, I have a quick practical question.
Sure.
So I'm looking at my one of my listings, and I've had an offer that didn't go anywhere. That one is in contracts number one.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm uploading a new offer that's from another buyer,
Mm-hmm.
how do I just create a separate folder for that new offer under that listing?
Perfect. Okay, so you're saying that you're in the file and you just want to create a new section for that buyer.
Yeah.
Am I
So
understanding your question correctly?
right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if you have your offer, let me just add a purchase and sale here. Sorry, I have to go through this extra step, y'all. Okay. So like, let's say this was your new offer that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you open it up right here where it says section, if you click on the
Mm-hmm.
drop down menu, at the very bottom, it says new section and you
Yep.
click on that and then it's going to ask you what you want to name it. So you could name it like offer number 2, or if it's a different, the address, you can name it by the address, whatever you want to do. And then you just create that section.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's
is that
okay.
helpful, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So
Thank you.
yeah, I was really trying to give like a general overview. So I love the feedback of what we need to kind of focus on.
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
So the other thing is I'm going to need to know how to do all of this, obviously on a desktop, but I'm going to need to know how to do all of this on my phone at 11 o'clock at night when I have a midnight due diligence ending.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other piece of it is being able to do this on the fly.
Right. So we'll tell you that appFiles does not have an app, but they do have, like, you can't access it mobily on your phone. I have some agents that like just use it like on their mobile device or whatever. I am not really like super sure of the functionality of it because I typically use the desktop version. But one of the comments that I have heard from agents is just to make sure that when you're using it on your whatever device you're using it on, that you use the mobile desktop version because it best mimics what you're seeing here on the desktop. Is that helpful, Chris?
I've looked at it and does show you exactly what you're seeing here, except it's showing it to you on a phone size screen. And so it is essentially, at least what I have found, unless there's a trick I'm missing, it's essentially unusable because you have to blow it up to see things, and then you have to be moving right and left and up and down to even see what you're trying to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to maybe, if there's some agents who are using this on a phone on a
Mm-hmm.
very regular basis, I'd love to know the tricks to do that, because I'll
Okay.
be honest, I do more on dot loop on my phone than I do on my desktop.
Okay, and that's what I was going to ask you too. So does Dotloop have an app?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it simplifies everything. It's very easy to use. It you know, it's the same functionality as the desktop, but
Mm-hmm.
it is designed for the phone screen.
Gotcha. Okay. So I would like to pass that feedback along to appFiles because that's something I've heard multiple times over the years. Why don't they have an app? And I don't know the answer to that. But I definitely will pass that along because I agree with you. I think agents, a lot of times you are doing that at midnight, on your phone, or you are out in the field and you're trying to do it on your phone or your iPad. You're not necessarily always sitting in office like I am looking at a screen. So I think that is definitely some great feedback that we can give at files as well.
I'm going to
Yeah,
second that. It's one of the
sure.
main reasons why we're really hesitant to switch over to app files from .loop.
Mhm. Uh-oh, did we lose you? I think
Oh,
you're
no,
muted.
that's all I was just seconding what he said because that's
Oh, gotcha.
one of the reasons that I'm really hesitant to for our team to switch over from dot loop is because I can do things on my phone when I'm out and about and I'm not tied to the desktop.
Right.
I've not tried app files on my phone besides just a cursory looking at it,
Mhm.
but it doesn't seem very optimized for it.
Right.
And
Okay.
also,
Let me
for that
go ahead.
matter, I don't know what the experience is from the client end. Most of our clients are also signing documents on their phone. So I'm
Right.
not sure what that looks like, or if that's really cumbersome as well, but that's a big deal.
So I can actually tell you as far as the signature requests go, because I've done it myself. I've had to do signature requests through app files on my phone, and it's actually super easy. I mean, like their signature function for app files on a mobile device is not hard at all.
Okay, cool.
Like, and I've used Loop for signatures as well. Like my husband and I over the years, selling and purchasing our own homes. I've used Loop in that capacity as a client, and then I've also used appFiles as a client as well. And I would say the functionality there is pretty equal. But I do take the point of, and actually just made myself a note because I know an agent out of my office that like specifically just uses her phone because her son broke her laptop and she's not replaced it. So I'm going to reach out to her and get some feedback from her as well that I can share with you all. And someone had mentioned about whether or not there was like some cheat sheets. So I can send out, and I'm happy to do it to everybody. I do have some cheat sheets that I've created that are just like a real quick and dirty. Here's how you add something. Here's how you do a signature request. So I will send those out today to you guys. Yeah. All right. What other
I've got a
questions?
quick question.
Yeah, please.
If you upload a document that was not created in app files,
Mhm.
can you edit it?
So what specifically are you like? Are you wanting to add like text fields to be able to type into?
Well, like a contract that was sent to you by somebody else,
Okay.
and you want to, even something like filling in the binding agreement date, can you edit it if it wasn't created in .loop?
So if you have a PDF, you can actually upload that into appFiles and you can add text fields. So like if you needed to fill in that binding agreement date, or if you need to send it to your client for signature, you can do that as well.
Mhm.
Um, I will say that may be a little bit more than we have time for today.
Okay.
But just know that you do have the ability to do that, yes. And
Okay.
you can also take documents that are like, let's say that I've had agents do this before. They're out in the field they have something they need to get into the file, they take a picture of it with their phone, and you can convert it into a PDF in appFiles. So that's a great question, Dan. Thank you. Do we have any other burning questions? Do we want to look at a signature request very quickly to see what that looks like? Are people interested in seeing that? I don't want to take up any more of anyone's time than they have available.
Since that's a main function that we would probably do, probably worth it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Happy to. Okay, so let's just take the listing agreement. Okay, so you got your listing agreement, you're ready to send it for signature. Now we'll tell you that you can send a signature request to 2 different people and they can sign simultaneously. I don't know if dotloop still functions this way, but I do know back in 2021 when my husband and I were using it for the sale of our home, it had to be one person sign and then the next person sign. Like we couldn't sign at the same time. appFiles doesn't work that way. So you can send it to 2 different people and they can sign whenever they have the ability to sign. You can also send it to, if you have somebody that shares an email address, you can send it to the same email address, but it does still have to be 2 separate signature requests, obviously for compliance reasons, okay? All right, so they do have some basic general directions for you here. Every time you click on request signature, it's just going to remind you of the things that you need to do. But to move things forward, I'm going to click on start signature request. Okay. The first thing to do is to put in the person's full name. Now here's where that filling in the side of the app file comes in handy, because rather than typing it in, I can just select the name. You can click here if you want to allow for typed signatures, initials. Most likely you're going to want to do that. All right, and then it's going to ask you which fields you want to activate. So let's say I'm just sending this to one seller. I'm just going to activate their field. And then I'm going to click on next. Okay, I'm sorry, I have my screen kind of blown up so everybody can see it. And then here it's going to ask you to activate the following client editable fields. So if you don't want your client filling in any of this, don't activate them. But you do have the ability to have your client fill them in. You can also require it if it's something that needs to be required, but we don't need to do that. Okay. And then the next thing it's going to do is ask you for their email address. Okay. So once again, because I filled in my email address on that side information section there, I can just click on it rather than having to type it in. Now, this is the template email that gets sent. You can add to this, okay? You can send it just like this if you want to, or if you have information that you want to add to it, you can. Do not delete this though, because this is their directions. And this right here that says link is the actual link for them to be able to sign their document. So if you need to say something else to your client in the email, just give yourself a couple of lines here, and then you can type in, like, let's say you need them to sign by a certain time. Please sign by 5 p.m. Okay. Just make sure you don't delete any of this information. Okay. And then once you get your email signature added into your account, you'll see that here as well. Okay. Next thing is to choose who to notify once the signature is complete. So if you want to be notified, most likely you do, or if you have a transaction coordinator that you want to be notified, you can select that person as well, as long as they're on the file. Please, please, please do not click on contact staff. We don't need to know when your clients have signed documents. Okay. So I'm going to say for myself, I'm going to click on request signature, give it just a moment. Okay. So now you can see it shows that you have an active signature request. And if you scroll down, it will actually tell you whether or not your client has visited the link, whether or not they've actually completed it. If they say, oh my gosh, I didn't get it, because we all know sometimes certain emails have security functions. It goes to your junk folder or it blocks it altogether. You can resend it. If you forget something, you need to cancel it and resend it, you can click on cancel. So you have a couple of different functions here, okay? Something else really important. Number one, I'm going to show you what this looks like when it comes into your email. But number two, if you do have a client that's saying, like, has told you multiple times, I am not getting that email, I am not getting that email, you can always just start an email in your email account, copy this link, and send it to them. Okay. Specifically Gmail, I hear this from people a lot. Gmail has those high security functions, and sometimes these emails from appFiles will get blocked. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Now let me show you guys what this looks like when it comes into your email. Okay. All right, so I've just gotten the email that has requested my signature. You can see here is the information that I added. It asked me to click on the link, so I just do that. And then here's what it looks like. So they can review the document. If there is anything that they have to fill in, this would be where they could fill it in. Otherwise, you can click on Sign Next. It'll take them down to where you need to sign. On this, okay, it's going to give them all the terms and conditions. You guys have seen that before. All right, and then they can choose if they want to do a touch signature, they can do that. If they want to do a type signature, they can do that as well. All right, I accept that's my signature. Click accept. Okay, and then now it's going to tell me that I have the ability to download my document. Now, if I go back over to my file and I click on refresh, okay, you can see that that document has now been signed. Oops, sorry. Scroll down. Okay. So now here is my signature. Okay. And then just to show you what the verification email looks like. So here's what it looks like. This is what you will get as the agent once your client has signed. It will let you know that they have signed it. Okay. Now, if you need to immediately go and look at the document, the nice thing about this is from your email, you can click on this little link right here and it'll take you right into the file. Okay. Do we have any questions about that? It's pretty easy. Okay. Awesome. Well, if we don't have any other burning questions at the moment, we will wrap this up. We did record today's meeting so we can get that posted. Please, please, please reach out to me if you want to do something for just yourself as an individual or something for your team. I am more than happy to set that up for you. Just let me know. All right. It was really nice meeting some of you that I have not met yet, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Selena.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Donna. Thank you.